Number two, you say, what is this day of the Lord, this end of all the last days that have been going on now for so long? Turn to Joel again, chapter 2, where we started in our study of the last days. It is a day not only of general deception, but it is a day of gross darkness. Gross darkness. In Joel 2, verse 2, it says at the end of verse 1, for the day of the Lord, there's our phrase again, cometh, it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. Go to the book of Amos. Hosea, Joel, Amos follows Joel, and look at chapter 5. The Hebrew prophets are quite consistent on what the day of the Lord is all about. In Amos chapter 5, verse 18, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? Now the light of the gospel and the light in believers who are to let their light so shine apparently is gone in the day of the Lord. Another interesting argument as it relates to the rapture of believers before the day of the Lord starts. You remember in 1 Thessalonians 5, he said, but brothers and sisters, you are not of the darkness. You are of the day and the light. And it's fascinating because most Bible commentators and teachers believe he's quoting right from the verses we just read in Joel and Amos. It's a day of gross darkness, meaning a spiritual darkness. It means that something has happened. In 2 Thessalonians 2, we're told that he who restrains evil is going to be removed. The Holy Spirit who indwells believers, and we become the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Just think of it. If we're removed out of this world, what is left? All hell's going to break out. Religion will be everywhere, but the power is gone. And there'll be a spiritual darkness that will be in this world, such as the world has never known. Number 3, go to Zephaniah, if for no other reason to find it. Zephaniah, a little 3-chapter book. Micah, Nahum, Zephaniah, Haggai. It follows Habakkuk. Zephaniah chapter 1. What is this end of the last days, this day of the Lord? It's a day of general deception. Number 1, it's a day of gross darkness. Number 2. And number 3, it's a day of great distress. Great distress. You know, the whole world talks about stress, don't they? You see articles in various secular magazines about everybody's under stress today. Working so hard, trying to do so much and get ahead, and there's just tremendous stress. Folks, like they say, you've seen nothing yet. I read in Zephaniah chapter 1, beginning at verse 14. The great day of the Lord, there's our phrase again, is near, it is near, and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress. A day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I, God says, will bring distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. Wow. Woo. We're talking major problems, great distress. Turn to the Gospel of Luke and let's hear what Yeshua, Jesus, said. Luke chapter 21. And pick it up at verse 25 and 26. Jesus almost is quoting, at least interpreting and commenting on Zephaniah's passage that there'll be great distress and panic. In Luke 21:25, Jesus said, "There shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken." Wow. That's all coming, people. And who is able to stand? At the beginning of the tribulation described in the book of Revelation in chapter 6, we read, "The day of God's wrath has come, and who shall be able to stand?" It tells us the leaders of this world will panic so much, they'll be crying out to the rocks to fall on them. They'll be hiding in dens and caves to get away from the tremendous disasters that are happening on the planet. Which brings me to number 4. The fourth thing about this day of the Lord is it's a day of geological disasters like the world has never seen. Let's go to that passage in Revelation 6, the last book of the Bible, chapter 6, and pick it up at verse 12. This is the beginning of the tribulation period, not the end when it gets worse. This is only the beginning. The day of the Lord, the end of the last days, is a day of geological disasters. Revelation chapter 6, beginning at verse 12. "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. The stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree causeth her untimely figs when she's shaken of a mighty wind. The heaven departed as a scroll when it's rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?" You know, when Iraq fired Scud missiles at Israel, people spoke about these passages. But the truth of the matter, it was nothing compared to what God has described here. And it gets worse. Let me show you. Let's go over to chapter 16 of Revelation and just look at further down the line of that 7-year period what's going to happen. Chapter 16. The final plagues are called 7 bowls of wrath. The last plagues that God's going to bring on the planet. Verse 17, "The seventh angel poured out his vial, his bowl into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, It's done." The day of God's wrath is wrapping up, folks. "And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and again a great earthquake," only this one is worse than the previous one, "such," it says, "as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away," this time, not just moved out of its place, "and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent," that's about 100 pounds. "And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great." Yes, it's going to be a day of geological disasters. Terrible time. The day of the Lord, the end of the period of time known as the last days.